Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Skip and Shannon, let's debate.
Hello, Cleveland. How are
Whoa. You don't address my family before me. What's up, Cleveland? That's what I'm talking about.
you? Yeah. So, Cleveland, let's get this straight. I'm the one over here who's objective about your man, King James. I tell you the good, I tell you the not so good. But my man, Shannon Sharpe, is a blind witness. He only tells you what's great about your man, so cheer for this man all day.
No, Skip, I'm objective. I tell you what's good about LeBron, I tell you what's better about LeBron, and I tell you what's the greatest about LeBron.
That's what I like. Thank you.
You know, nothing says objective like LeBron bed sheets.
Yes.
Stop bringing up old stuff,
I'm
Joy.
just saying.
It's new stuff.
Absolutely. Well, we're in Cleveland, so we're going to talk some LeBron. The Cavs are down 2-0 with Game 3 tomorrow night here in Cleveland. LeBron James is averaging a triple-double in the first two games, but he's a negative 33 in the series, and he's committed 12 turnovers. Skip, how important is Game 3 for LeBron's legacy?
Okay, Cleveland, I'm going to be objective about your man, King James. I believe that tomorrow night in his house is huge for LeBron James' legacy. In fact, it could be a turning point for LeBron James' legacy. I believe that in his house, he should win this game. In fact, I made a bet on our show yesterday when we were back in Los Angeles that King James will win Game 3 in his house tomorrow night. I believe that because I believe LeBron James owes his team this game. And I believe that because I'm not going to give him a pass for what happened in Games 1 and 2. You can say he was overmatched. You can say that Kevin Durant is just too much firepower, that the Cavs don't have a chance. Baloney. They have a great chance tomorrow night to start to make this a series again. But I'm not going to give him a pass for Game 1 when he committed 8 turnovers, which is just out of bounds for the King. And then I saw again, and I gave LeBron a pass yesterday on the show that I don't think he deserved, but I saw another strange disappearing act from LeBron James in the second half of Game 2 on Sunday night. And the reason I did is because I tweeted at halftime, if you follow me on Twitter, that he played an all-time great first half of Game 2 on Sunday night. I give him an A+ for the first half, one of his best playoff halves of his career, but I give him a D for the second half, as in disengaged, as in disappeared, because in the first half, he had 18 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds. He attempted 0 three-point shots, which I always applaud. He attempted 0 mid-range jump shots, which I always applaud. For 14 years, I've said, LeBron, nobody can stop you from getting in the lane or getting to the rim. And in the first half, Mr. Sharpe, could they stop him from getting to the rim? They could not. And LeBron, I thought, dominated the basketball game for a half. They were down only 3 at halftime. And again, we had bet against each other. I'd bet on Golden State that night, and I was scared at halftime, I got to tell you. And then in the second half, I don't know what happened. LeBron took only 6 shots because he pulled back. He started settling for jump shots. He quit attacking. He went passive. He got timid. He started deferring like crazy, and all of a sudden, Golden State, especially Steph and KD, said, oh, maybe this is our turn. We got this, and they took over the game. So I gave him yesterday the out-of-gas pass, and I don't know. He's only the best player and the fittest player on the planet, so I'm not sure he deserves that pass off Game 2. But let's look at what happened last year. I'm going to remind everybody, and maybe this will comfort you a little bit, they were even worse in the first 2 games last year. And that team only won an NBA record 73 games, again, without Kevin Durant. But you realize they were a minus 48 in point differential after 2 games last year because they lost by 15 and by 33 in the first 2 games. And LeBron was pretty quiet by the Kings standards. This year, they've only lost by a combined 41 points. So it's minus 48 last year, minus 41 this year. Last year, LeBron had 11 total turnovers. This year he has 12 total turnovers. So what are the point spreads? Last year, Golden State came here favored by a point. Now Golden State comes here favored by 3 points. So is that big a deal? Not to me. And what happened in Game 3 last year? I'm going to remind you. Again, Kevin Love didn't even play because he was out with a concussion. LeBron won that game. The Cavs won that game 120-90. By 30 points last year because LeBron took over the game with 32, 11, and 6, and Kyrie showed up in ways he didn't show up in Golden State because he had 30 in that game, 4 and 8. No Kevin Love. JR showed up. I'm not sure he's going to be found by tomorrow night, but he made 5 threes, 5 out of 10 last year in Game 3. So do I think Cleveland's a good basketball? Yeah, I think they're a really good basketball team. Do I think they're capable of beating the Kevin Durant Golden State Warriors? You better believe I do. Do I think this series is over? I do not. So I'm saying the King will win Game 3 just as he did a year ago. But again, if he doesn't, the legacy is starting to teeter. If they get blown out at home, it won't look good for LeBron James.
Okay, I'm going to try to dissect what you just said. Take it one at a time. You said if he doesn't win this game, his legacy is forever tarnished.
It'll be a blight on his resume, yeah.
Although, now we're going to discuss this later, they're discussing whether or not this or the 96 Bulls are the greatest team ever assembled in finals history. And that's what LeBron's up against. And you said if he loses this game...
Do you think this is the greatest team in finals history?
We're going to debate that later.
Okay.
I'm talking about your points right here, right now. You see what you're trying to do?
Okay. I don't. Okay. I'm not sure this team is better than last year's Golden State team. I'm just not. I want to see them under fire. I want to see them pushed in a fourth quarter down the stretch, and let's see if they come up big again.
So let me get this right. You don't think they're better than last year, although they have the 3. Now they add Kevin Durant, not Harrison Barnes.
What do we say all year? How many times did I say during the year? I'm not being a hypocrite. I told you again and again, they looked better to my eye this regular season without Kevin Durant than with him. I'm sorry.
What about in the playoffs?
Okay, when have they been pushed in the playoffs? They've won every game. They've just blown people out. They got injury breaks every round. They didn't have to play Kawhi Leonard. What happened? Yeah, this all-time great team. Was it down 23 points to my San Antonio Spurs midway through the third quarter of Game 1 in Oakland? What happened? Kawhi got hurt. He got cheap-shotted by Zaza Pacheco. Well, that's who he is. I'm sorry.
Skip. So let me get this right. Harrison Barnes scored 65 points in 7 games. Kevin Durant has 71 in 2 games, but somehow you think they're a better team last year than this year.
I just saw it in the regular season.
You said LeBron disappeared in the second half. He had 11 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds. He only took 6 shots.
Why is that?
Because
he's better than that.
Because he realizes in order for him to win this series and to start by winning a game, he needs Kyrie to become involved earlier. Kyrie, if you look at the stat sheet, you're like, well, Kyrie had 19. But you look at it, he took 23 shots to get them. He got, 10, 11 of those in the fourth quarter when the game was out of reach. He understands in order for him to take down this big 3, or the Fantastic Four, as I dubbed them earlier this year, Skip, he needs a combined effort from Kevin Love and Kyrie. LeBron's going to get his. He's averaging, think about this, Skip, he's averaging a triple-double, 28.5, 13 and 11, and they're losing by an average of 20 points a game. So I don't really know what else you want him to do. Okay,
you know what I want him to do? What he did in the first 3 games of the 2015 finals when he had lost Kevin Love and then lost Kyrie in overtime of Game 1. What did he do? He was taking high numbers. He took 38 shots, 35 shots. But, come on.
That was without Kyrie and Kevin Love.
I get it, but it worked because they were up 2 games to 1 with Game 4 right here in his house.
So who was going to get Kyrie's shot? Dellavedova? Who was going to get? Who was going to get?
By the way, they miss Dellavedova. They do.
Who was going to take Kevin Love's shot? Mozgov. Now you have 3 All-Star players. Skip. He has to. LeBron is a very unselfish player. He had to go
to a fault. He is.
That
should have been his night in his game.
For me, this game, lose Game 3, it does nothing to his legacy because he's a Mount Rushmore player. Now, this probably removes the conversation, him and the GOAT. That probably is off the table if he were to lose this game.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, no, that's a huge admission. That's a confession on your part.
It's not a confession. I'm honest. You dishonest when it comes to LeBron. Skip, he's playing 3, the last 3 MVPs, 2013, 14, and 15. 13, 14, and 15. They're in their prime. We've never seen anything like this. They're the only team that can take 2 players off the court, and they still have 2 All-NBA players. Two, Skip. Where did they have 4 All-Star players?
Okay, is Steph Curry on Mount Rushmore?
No.
No. Is Kevin Durant on Mount Rushmore? No. Is Klay Thompson on Mount Rushmore? No. Is Draymond on Mount Rushmore? I'm sorry, he's not.
Skip.
But one guy is. The king is.
So what one guy beat 4 Mount Rushmore players? Did Jordan ever do that?
Yeah. Yeah, he beat teams that were better than these teams. We'll talk about that later. He did. He did.
I'm trying to.
I'll show you. I'll show you Magic's Lakers. I'll show you Karl Malone's Jazz. They were better than this Golden State team. They had proven more.
Magic Lakers were old. Magic was old. James Worthy didn't even finish the series. They were not stacked like this. We're not talking about the early 80s from 86 back Showtime Lakers. You're talking about 91. Because you remember, Jordan didn't make any finals in the 80s when you say the league was all stacked. The Pistons, the Sixers, and the Celtics. They represented the East. Now, did Michael Jordan come into the league in 1994 or 1984?
84.
Oh, so he couldn't make it out the East.
Well, he was a baby up against teams stacked with Mount Rushmore.
You know what?
Those are Mount Rushmore players.
Larry Bird and the Bad Boy Pistons gave him a ball and say, sit your butt in the corner until you get ready.
Wait, when he scored 63 on the Celtics and they said, we just faced Jesus in sneakers.
Tell them what happened. Who won that game? Now, you can't leave out that part. Who won the game, Skip?
Yeah.
Skip.
A team that had 4 Hall of Famers.
Oh, no.
4 Hall of Famers.
Skip, let me ask you a question. There was a guy named Jerry West. He lost 7 straight finals. He was 1-8 in the finals. Those 7 straight losses in the finals tarnished his legacy so much, they gave him the logo. So you mean to tell me
But he got the logo before the NBA was even the NBA. You know it, and I know it. And he doesn't deserve to keep the logo.
Stop being disrespectful to that man.
I'm just being honest about the man.
All I'm saying is LeBron is a 4-time league MVP.
Wait a second.
Yes.
What has Steph Curry ever proven in the postseason? Show me.
Skip.
Show me what he's done in the last 2 finals. Help me out.
Okay.
Did he live up to his MVPs? Show me what Kevin Durant has really proven in the postseason. Did he come up big against LeBron in the 2012 finals against the Miami Heat?
I'm going to use your argument against you. Like you said, Michael Jordan, he was a baby.
Okay, Kevin was a baby against LeBron in 2012. I will give you that. But Steph was not a baby 2 years ago or last year. And he wasn't even the MVP of a finals in which he got to play against a Cavs team that did not have Kevin Love or Kyrie Irving. And he wasn't even the MVP of that. And how about last year in Game 7, back in Oakland,
yes.
4th quarter, what did Steph Curry do in that game?
He didn't do it.
He was 1 for 6, 1 for 5 from 3 with a huge turnover with 5 minutes left in the game. He came up smaller than he even is.
But you can't deny Steph Curry is a 2-time league MVP and the only man to win that award unanimous. Kevin Durant is an MVP. You can't take that off his resume.
Okay, but do you know how many times Kevin came up small in playoffs for the Oklahoma City Thunder? Do you realize my Spurs in 2014 went into his house and beat him and Russell Westbrook in the pivotal game of that series to get to the 2014 finals against your Heat again?
Skip, but here's the thing. They still have these collection of talent. No team has ever assembled this kind of firepower in their prime.
Okay, I got that, and I give you that. But now you have to prove that the firepower will work on the biggest stage. So far, so good.
Right.
So far, so great
yes.
in Oakland. Those were in Oakland.
But if that's the case, if they've proved nothing in the playoffs, and we're going to debate this, I can't understand. These guys have proved nothing in the playoffs, yet they would be favored of what many think is the greatest team ever assembled, the 96 Bulls. I can't understand why. Now, you say Vegas, they know things. Now, they keep building.
They don't know this thing, because that's the biggest bunch of baloney I've ever heard.
Well, I just want to.
We'll talk about it later.
How do they keep building these buildings that cost $2 billion and they losing money? They're not. They know what they're talking about. So, Skip, this game would do nothing for LeBron's legacy. It would only enhance it. It would only get him closer to the GOAT.
Okay, but you did admit that if he loses it, it's game over with the GOAT, right?
If he loses this series, I'm not a game by game. I look at the totality of all the parts. If he loses this series, the conversation of him being the GOAT is probably off the table. unless he can come back and beat this team twice the way it's constructed now. Because I believe these teams are going to play for the very foreseeable future in the finals.
You could make a case. They have the right.
Golden State has clearly the best talent in the West. Cleveland has the best talent in the East. So I don't believe this game is going to tarnish LeBron's. This game would tarnish his legacy. The only thing, he loses this series, the Jordan GOAT is probably off the table, Skip, unless he does something spectacular. Comes back, wins a couple of regular season MVPs, and can take this team down. If he can take this team down, we're going to have this conversation again because, Skip, there's a possibility they could be undefeated in the playoffs. No team has ever done that. So to beat a team that once went undefeated in the playoffs, the way they're constructed, obviously that would give him some merit.
So I think you're telling me that you're starting to concede to a team that has proven nothing in the postseason, and you're starting to concede that a Mount Rushmore player that you say is the best on the planet and the fittest on the planet really has no chance against this team, right? Is that what you're telling me?
No, that's
Or are you just making early excuses in case they get swept?
I thought I did a good job of clarifying my stance and where I stood.
I think you did too good a job, actually.
I said if LeBron loses this series, there's a good chance the conversation of him being the GOAT is off the table. This series does nothing to tarnish his legacy. It's okay to be the second greatest player of all time. Skip, do you know who the second richest man in the world
is? After all you've told me for months and months?
Let me ask you a question. Do you know who the second richest person in the world is?
I don't follow that stuff like you do. I don't care.
Do you know?
I care who the greatest basketball player is.
But Skip, think about it. How many guys have played basketball? Clearly everybody wants to be number one. Everybody can't be number one. There have probably been 10,000 guys that play in the NBA. To say that you're the second greatest player of all time, Skip, that's not a slight. That's not a knock. That's not disrespectful. But you try to make him seem like the dude is pimento cheese, and he's not.
Well, I did not say that.
Yeah, it's going to hurt his legacy. He can't beat this team. What have they done in the playoffs?
Well, what have they done? You haven't told me yet. Explain it to me.
This team, the way it's constructed now, is 2-0 over last year's champion. That's what they've done thus far.
Okay.
They have yet to lose a game in the playoffs in this year's playoffs.
Last year's Warriors beat this team by 48 points at Oakland, a combined 48. And this year, they only lost by a combined 41. So, I don't know. Maybe last year's was a little better. They poured it on a little worse.
Skip, you cannot believe that this team...
I do. I told you this all year.
They got the greatest 7-footer, offensive and defensive player to ever live, Skip. Nobody has this skill set.
Can I ask our audience what happened on Christmas Day right here? Is it right there? Yeah, right there. What happened? What happened?
Skip.
Wait. Did Kevin Durant play that day?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
And he played phenomenal.
Oh, wow. But they're up 14 with, 8 minutes to go? And then what happened? That's what happened. You know it and I know it. They gagged. They did. Are you going to close it or am I going to close it? Well, you try it. No, I'll try it. And then Kyrie said, watch this. I'll close it.
But, Skip, this isn't football. This isn't the NCAA where one game. You have to beat this team the way it's assembled with 4 All-Stars, 4 All-MVPs, and the last 2. There are 2 players, but 3 MVPs.
On paper, they are awesome. But on that floor over there tomorrow night, it's basketball.
Right.
And they're going to have to prove that they're that great.
Yes.
And that they can play together in what I believe will be a tight game, a tight fit all the way home tomorrow night. Let's see if they can pull that off. I don't think they will.
I don't believe they're going to win tomorrow night either. But this game, winning tomorrow night, doesn't do anything for LeBron's legacy. Winning this series, it keeps him in the conversation. It gets him closer to LeBron James. Losing this game, it does not take him off Mount Rushmore. He's still there. He will forever.
No, he never got there in the first place. He's not on Mount Rushmore, not yet.
What you had?
Come on.
Weed ain't legal out here, Skip.
Huh?
You must have been smoking something I don't know about.
Well, we'll get to that.
We're going to talk about
that. But LeBron is the one that said he was chasing the ghost.
Okay.
Not Skip.
Okay.
Okay, so if he loses this, no one's ever come back from an 0-3 deficit in the finals. No one's come back from 3-1 either, but...
All I'm saying is, okay, he's not the GOAT. Wow, that's a terrible thing. He's the second greatest player to ever play the game.
He's the one that said he was chasing the ghost.
No mercy.
The Warriors have the best record in the NBA playoff history at a perfect 14-0, and all of the Vegas sportsbooks said these Warriors would be favored over the 96 Bulls team that won 72 games. Westgate has the Warriors as a 6.5-point favorite over Jordan's Bulls. We're joined now by Chris Broussard. Welcome, Chris.
Thank
Chris.
you. Always great to
Welcome
be in
back
the land.
to your home
That's
area.
right.
Yes.
Cleveland. Best city in the Midwest. Best city in the Midwest, sorry.
Listen, we're going to spare everyone the
He got the king
Pittsburgh,
bracelet on, too.
Cleveland debate, too. That's not for
This
LeBron.
is not for LeBron.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Chris, do you agree with Vegas?
No, I don't. I'm not surprised. Let's put it that way. Because the three-point shot,
Right.
that's such a factor now. The Warriors make 12 threes a game. The 96 Bulls made 6 threes, 7 if you want to round up. That's 15 points, a game more that they're getting. So I get why the odds makers would favor them. And remember, 96, the three-point line was shorter.
Right.
That's when it was 22 feet. It's 22 feet in the corners now.
Right.
So it was that way all around. But what the odds makers didn't look at, in my view, is the heart, the intangibles, the mental toughness. And I'm not being critical of any of these Warriors' mental toughness, but nobody that I've seen had the type of mental toughness that Michael Jordan had, especially in 96.
Thank you.
He was on a mission. Remember, the year before, he had been knocked out of the playoffs in Orlando. And Nick Anderson had said, number 45 is not the same as 23.
When
I can
he
see
came back from
Draymond
his
saying
year
that.
off,
Yes.
Yes, exactly. I can see
sabbatical.
Draymond saying he's not the same as he used to be, and that getting under Jordan's skin.
Yes.
So I would go with the Bulls, not only because of the intangibles, but because they had the players that I think could defend Golden State much better than Cleveland can. You have Jordan on Klay Thompson.
Jordan's not going to play. Jordan wants the challenge. He wants Steph.
Well,
Ron Harper's taking
okay,
Klay.
you could do that. They'll both get on them. I got you there. Dennis Rodman and Draymond, and I think Rodman could get with him.
Yeah.
And then you'd have Pippen, of course, with Durant, which is a tough match. I'm not saying they'd shut him down.
Right.
But they could stick with him, and Tony Kukoc would play a much, much larger role.
Yes.
So they could go with a small lineup with Kukoc, Harper, Pippen, Jordan, and Rodman that could play with the death lineup of Golden State. So I just can't put it within myself to bet against Michael Jordan.
Skip, I hate doing this because I hate trying to 2017 with 96. Anytime we do this, though, Skip, I need to know the era. What rules are we playing by? Exactly. Are we going to let
hand check or no hand check?
Because if you're going to let Pippen and Jordan steer them wherever they want to go, I got the Bulls. If you play with today's rules, no hand check, and you can't beat them up like they did back in the 90s because you come down the lane. There was no flagrant. There was really no flagrants back then. You really had to rip somebody's head off and throw it in the stands for you to get a flagrant foul. So if you're going to play with those rules, I got the 96. But if you're going to have the game free-flowing, open like it is today, I got the Golden State Warriors. But I want to see this game for one reason. I don't want to see Jordan on Steph. I don't want to see Pippen on Durant. I don't want to see Harper playing Klay. I want to see Draymond, and I want to see Dennis Rodman. That's what I want to see, Skip, because you already know what's going to happen.
Flagrant?
Oh, yeah. And when these guys get flagrants, I don't want you to throw them out. I want you to keep them. I want you to keep them in. I want you like WWE. Keep them in there. Let them go until the game ends. Because that's the qualifier and that's the outlier, Skip. When you're dealing with situations like this, and it's hard to project because how do you say, well, I believe the 2007 Patriots could beat the 78 Steelers. Okay, under what rules, under what terms? If you're going to let them attack the quarterbacks like they did in the 70s, the Steelers will knock Tom Brady out in the first quarter. But if you're not going to let them attack the quarterback like that and they can't beat the receivers up like they could back then, the Patriots are going to go up and down the field. So what rules are we playing under? Under today's rules, I got the Warriors. 90s rules, I got the Bulls because Pippen and Jordan will steer those guys anywhere they want them to go.
Shannon Sharpe.
Yes.
Shannon Sharpe. I'm sorry, even under today's rules, that 95-96 Bulls team would tear this team apart. Ooh. I'm sorry, it was just too loaded. It was too physical. It was too nasty. It had the greatest competitor, the scariest competitor I've ever watched in any sport, any team sport, next to Ali. Ali was in an individual way.
Correct.
Yeah. But, hey, these guys, I covered the team in '98 when they terrorized the playoffs, because the other teams would tell me after those games, we had a hard time getting the ball past half court. I know the rules are different, but they just couldn't start their offense deep enough into the half court because you got Pippen, Jordan, and Ron Harper across the front, and they're all so long and so tough-minded, elite defenders, and they took pride in it, and they took pride at just suffocating the ball handlers. So they would make it so hard on the Golden State, whoever's going to handle the ball outside. And let me just, to refresh people's memories, that 95-96 team through the playoffs, it swept the Heat. That was Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway. Then Knicks went down in 5 games. That was Ewing, Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley, John Starks, Derek Harper, and Charles Smith. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Then they swept in the conference finals the magic of Shaquille and Penny Hardaway and Nick Anderson and Dennis Scott and Brian Shaw. They're really good, and they swept that team. And then it took 6 games to beat Seattle with Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Detlef Schrempf, who I covered in Dallas, was really good. Hersey Hawkins, who was just a flat-out 20-a-game scorer. Sam Perkins, Nate McMillan. They were really good. And it took 6 games, but they beat them in the finals.
And remember, they were up 3-0 and then lost. They may have been able to sweep them or at least beat them in 5. I just thought they took their foot off the gas once they went up 3-0
And the thing is,
Seattle.
when you talk about Pippen, Jordan, and Harper, basically you got 3 Kawhi Leonards. Because all those guys could guard you for 94 feet. But, Skip, they're not. But you're playing with today's rules, Skip. They're not going to let your hand check. They're going to call that a ticky-tack stuff. Because let's think about Steph Curry shot 10 free throws in the first quarter. So imagine what he's going to do in today's game. They're not going to let Jordan beat him up.
I do think that if the Bulls had played under these rules in this era, they would have adjusted to the three-point shot.
Right.
I mean, Kukoc, I think all the players would have shot the three better. Not as well as Golden State, but it wouldn't be. That's really Golden State's only advantage in my eyes.
Absolutely.
Would be the three-point shot. And I think the Bulls were second in the league that year in three-point percentage. I think they would have adjusted and been adequate to the point where they could have nullified the difference.
Can you imagine the three-point line 3 feet closer at the top of the key? And Steph, I mean, think Draymond.
Steph would hit 10 a game, 15 a game.
Okay, but remember, the three-point shot, for whatever reason, wasn't valued in those days the way it is now. They hadn't figured out the math of it. I think it took Krzyzewski at Duke to say, hey, NBA, you're missing the boat and the point because it's 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. Just keep shooting threes, because if you make X threes, it's going to be +3, and it's going to add up over 4 quarters, and it's going to give you a huge advantage.
Because probably 40% from the three-point line is better than 50 from 2. Because
you have to be 33% from 3 to equal 50% from 2.
So if you, Skip, I don't, like I said, the rules are going to be a big determining factor of who wins this game. Because if you let them play physical, because I mean, can you imagine when Kevin McHale took Kurt Warner beside the sky? If somebody did that in today's game, how many games are they suspended, Skip? Are they playing any more?
You're out of the series, and maybe the first 5 for next year. I mean, seriously.
So that's the way they play. If you're gonna let Rodman and Longley and those guys beat them up, if you're gonna let Jordan and Harper and Pip steer them wherever they want them to go, they got no chance because, like you said, they're gonna cover them 94 feet. So you'll never get an opportunity to get into your offense. But if you're gonna let it be free flowing and you can't hand check and you can't rough them up. And that's the problem Cleveland's having. And
imagine Steph going to the lane, which he does back then when you could hammer, like when Karl Malone hit Isaiah Thomas. If somebody does that to Steph.
44 stitches later.
Dennis Rodman.
Can you imagine, Skip?
That shows how tough, when you mention the teams Jordan went through, those Knicks especially. I mean, Mason, Oakley, Ewing, and Jordan's going to the hole against them.
There's some football being played.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just have to defend this, but the first Jordan finals opponent was the 91 Lakers, and I realize Magic was older, but that was still a really good L.A. team. And when you look at what that L.A. team did to get to the finals, they went through that Run TMC team in Golden State, remember, with Chris Mullin, Richmond, and Tim Hardaway. Marshallonis was on that team, and they beat them in 5. Then Portland was just loaded with Drexler, Kersey, Duckworth, Terry Porter, Buck Williams. Remember those teams? They beat them in 6. you know, they swept Hakeem in the first round. So it was really a good Laker team. I'm sorry.
You're pushing back on the notion that this Warriors team is better than any team Jordan faced in the finals.
Yeah, I just don't see it. Maybe they will prove to be, but they haven't proven
The Warriors are better, I believe.
Yeah.
Because the names you're mentioning, they're not Hall of Famers.
We haven't
They're
even
not
played
all-stars.
Game 3 yet.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
We're giving Cleveland a shot. I'm feeling good about Cleveland. Winning tomorrow.
But here's the thing. We've never seen a team play like the Warriors. They have MVP in their prime.
Exactly.
They're not 30. We're not talking about 35 when Bob McAdoo teamed up with Magic Johnson and Kareem. We're not talking about Bill Walton teamed up with Larry Bird. We're talking about under 30. Back-to-back MVPs.
I got it. On paper, it looks great.
Yes.
Legacy so far has not been built yet.
So what would they have? What if they win this series in 5 or 6 games?
Well, how about in 4? That would be impressive.
Would that convince you?
What, that they're the greatest team ever?
No, that they're better than any of the teams Jordan beat in the finals.
I got to see these next 2. I don't think they're going to do this. I think Cleveland's going to win Game 3, and we might have a different conversation on Thursday.
I still believe even if LeBron them comes back and wins this series, I still believe the Warriors have more talented players than anybody Jordan's ever faced. He's playing these 4 guys, they're going to the Hall of Fame. Draymond Green is going to be Defensive Player of the Year this year when they have their award ceremony in New York. They got 4 All-Stars, Skip. Think about it. A third of the All-Stars in the Western Conference came from one team.
And 3 of them blew a 3-1 lead to this team last year, right?
and guess what? And guess what they did? They went and got the second best player in the NBA.
Right. And he's proven what in the postseason?
He got fourth leading scorer all time in the playoffs.
I've seen him come up really small.
28.5 points per game.
No ring.
All he's doing is 35, 11, and 7 right now.
Well, we'll see. We'll get through Game 3 first. No mercy.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You are looking sharp.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Thanks. Hey, I knew I was coming on with you guys. I had to step it up.
Yeah. I like that.
Of course.
That's
okay.
Look what you got on.
Thank you.
Got on that burgundy for the land.
Yeah, I saw
secret LeBron
I
thing.
thought I would be nice today, you know. I can't wear my black and gold here in Cleveland. I think I'll get in trouble. So.
Yeah, you would.
Well, Stephen, you had a front row seat for some drama yesterday.
Yes.
Robert Horry was on ESPN and had some high praise for his former teammate, Hakeem Olajuwon. Let's take a listen to why Horry thinks the Rockets would have beaten the Bulls even with Michael Jordan.
I played with Phil, and Phil doesn't like the double team. They had nobody that could guard Dream. They had nobody that could guard Dream. I'm going to say that twice because Dream was just that dominant. And I did that because when we played San Antonio one time, Tim was killing me in the block, and Phil refused to double-team Tim to get the ball in his hand. And Dream is 20 times better than Tim Duncan. I've seen these 2 guys in the gym. I know what Dream brought to practice. I know what Tim brought to practice. I know Tim, he brought work ethic to practice, but it's an extra level. To be a superstar, you have to go to the extra level. Not saying Tim's not a superstar, but I'm saying what Dream brought to the game is amazing. I don't think people understand how good Olajuwon was.
You were there on set. What happened?
I tried my best to not kick him out of his seat.
Thank you.
You know, I just wanted to get over there like, Rob, I know you got a lot of rings, but you tripping right now. Tim Duncan and Olajuwon, they're both great, but Olajuwon will never be better than Tim Duncan. Tim is the best power forward of all time, 5-time champion. I played with Tim Duncan.
Yes.
Almost a quadruple-double in the NBA Finals deciding game. Who does that besides guys like LeBron?
Right.
You know, but no way. Tim Duncan is definitely better than Olajuwon.
So what possessed Robert to say that? Did he blurt it and then he kept digging the hole a little deeper and deeper?
I think the taco jacket got to him.
It did. I did too.
Maybe it was the jacket. Maybe it was the jacket because I don't think he was in his right mind by saying that.
Wow.
No way.
I mean, look. I don't know. Maybe he has an axe to grind. Maybe he has beef with San Antonio. But I believe
we both do.
Okay, yeah. But you know what? I believe you can have beef with the team, but not take it out on your teammates.
Right.
Now, he's making it seem like Tim Duncan is Michael Oliver Candy or Benoit Benjamin, and that's nothing against those guys. Tim Duncan is a 5-time champion. He's a 2-time MVP, a 3-time final MVP.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I think we forget sometimes, and I do agree with Horry on this, we forget how great Dream was.
Right.
Because he played at the height when the big man was king.
Mm-hmm.
playing against David Robinson, playing against Olajuwon, playing against playing against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, playing against Shaq, Ewing, Moses Malone, Robert Parrish. Back then, if you had a dominant big man, you could contend for titles.
Right.
If you didn't have one, get out the way. But I don't believe he was 20,000. You splitting hairs. I mean, remember we did the poll we did the topic skip, who's the best #1 overall draft pick, and they had Olajuwon behind David Robinson, and me and you both took umbrage to that. But I don't think he's 20 times better. I would take Olajuwon over Tim Duncan. That's me personally. But he's not 20 times better, and Duncan is nothing to sneeze at. He's listed as a power forward, but he was a center. Because when he got there, David Robinson was playing center, and they never changed his position.
You better not call him a center. He's a power forward. He don't even like to be called a 7-footer.
I am with Steven Jackson on this.
As always, Skip, you my guy.
I'm always with you, but on any Spurs topic, there is no way that Hakeem, as great as he was better than Tim Duncan. 20 times? 20 times better? What are you talking about?
That's Mars golf.
No way.
I'm sorry. Robert has an axe to grind. There's some sour grapes going on because he won it, and you went through this yourself. Pop can be ruthless. He can be a little cold-blooded. When he decides it's time, it's time.
Yes.
And he decided it was time after 07, 08 on Rob, and he said, that's it. And Rob was not happy about it because he thought he had some game left, and he had some big shot Bob left in him, and he was gone because Pop's like Belichick. You're out, man.
Yeah.
I'm going forward, and it feels like no love was lost, and I think he's still a little bitter over that.
Let it go, Rob. Let it go. I let it go. Let it go.
You did let it go. You had a hard time, but it took a while. But now
it took a while.
You know,
Oh, yeah, it took a while.
But here's the point. Later in Hakeem's career, he became a great player. But what you forget about, in his second year, they did go to the NBA Finals, but he had Ralph Sampson and Robert Reed and Rodney McRae, and it was a loaded basketball team, and they got wiped out by Larry Bird and company in the finals. But after that, as it became Hakeem the Dream's team, they really started to struggle. They won 42, 46, 45, 41, 52, and 42, but they kept going out in the first round, and one of those years, the 42 and 40 year, at the end of that stretch, they missed the playoffs in 1992, which, by the way, was Robert Horry's first year in Houston when he got drafted pretty high in the first round. I think he was the 8th overall. But he was a pick where he started with the dream, and so he's got rockets in his heart.
Exactly.
That's his first team, and he can't let go of that, and I'm fine.
Houston.
And he lives in Houston, which is great. But all those years I just mentioned, those folks in Houston, those Rockets fans are saying, wait a second, we passed up Michael Jeffrey Jordan for Hakeem Olajuwon because, remember, Hakeem went #1 in the 84 draft. Sam Bowie went second, Portland. And then what happened?
Jordan.
There came Michael Jordan, 3rd overall pick. Ahead of Sam Perkins, who went to the Mavericks. So the point is, if I look at career accomplishments, he even took a shot at Duncan's free throw shooting.
How can you?
Hey, okay, so career, Hakeem was 71% from the free throw line. Tim Duncan was 70%. So don't tell me he's a liability from the free throw line. And then if we look at career accomplishments, without that Ray Allen shot, Tim Duncan would be 6-0 in the NBA Finals with 3 Finals MVPs.
Exactly.
And Hakeem finished 2-1 with 2 MVPs. It was great, but it wasn't that great. It wasn't Tim Duncan great. And then if you start looking at regular season MVPs, 2-1, Tim Duncan. If you look at All-Stars, 15-12, Tim Duncan. If you look at first-team All-Defense, 15-9, Tim Duncan. He was the best rim protector in basketball for years, and I think he was the best passing big man ever. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
Hey, but we need to stop this now.
Whatever.
Tim Duncan couldn't touch Olajuwon on the defensive end. We need to stop
That's
playing.
false.
We need to stop. No,
you know
don't
what?
do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't
you
do that.
are so
Steve.
wrong about that.
No, not on the defensive end. Now,
Shannon.
Skip, you might. Hey, I might let you convince me.
I don't know, Shannon.
No.
Hey,
no,
you want to
He
talk
was
about?
a great rim protector.
Hey, listen.
San Antonio's whole defense was based off sending the guys to Tim Duncan, sending them to Dave Robinson.
Shannon, we're talking.
Send them to who?
Tim Duncan.
And who?
David Robinson.
And they were sending
Okay,
them to who?
but David Robinson
been
wasn't
gone
there
for a while
after 2
now.
years.
He
Come
won
on.
2 titles with him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, but over 14 years, it's just Tim Duncan's team. He was one of the great leaders in the history of. Was he not the face of the the leader of the franchise?
Yes, even when Dave was there.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this here? Let me tell you what. That MVP that they gave David Robinson, they played in the finals. Elijah Wan and David Robinson. Hakeem hit him up for 35, 12.5 and 5, and then he said, "You know what, Shaq? This ain't. I ain't biased. I'm about to give you some of this too. Shaq, 32, 11, and 5. He said, Ewan, oh, you thought I would play it?
You want some too?
26, 9, and 3. And the NBA Finals, when you said, oh, he got wiped out by the Bird Celtics, this is what he did to Parrish. 25, 11, and 1.
Okay, help me out. Did he play against Michael Jordan in either of those 2 finals that he won?
No, he didn't.
He did not.
Help
me out.
Hold on. Is it his fault that Michael Jordan wanted to drive a bus cross country and play baseball? How the
I think it went a little deeper.
He got bored. He got bored. Mike got bored.
But Skip, I'm not going to.
Okay, I'm going to give you this. Hakeem, for about a 3-year stretch, was all-time great.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan, for a 19-year stretch, was all-time great. He was all-time great the day he stepped on the floor a rookie.
I give him that, Skip, but let me ask you a question. But you know back then, Michael Jordan, everybody wanted the big man. If you had a 7-footer as skilled as Elijah Wan, Jordan wasn't going over him. Even if you're not taking back then, you played through the big man.
Right.
That's why they went #1 all the time. Unless you have a transcendent player like a LeBron, but LeBron's not going #1 over Kareem. LeBron's not going #1 coming out of high school over Elijah Wan. It's not going to happen, Skip. So I'm not going to diminish what Tim done because I believe you can praise one guy without trying to diminish another guy. And I get this a lot, Skip, because I played with 2 Hall of Fame left tackles, Jonathan Ogden and Gary Zimmerman. Who's best? They're different.
Right.
One is 6'9.5", 340, and could crip walk and could move like a dancing bear. The other guy, Zim, was 6'5", 280, what was technically sound. You could set a glass of water on his back and it wouldn't move. That's just the way you do it.
But you know and I know you'd go with Jonathan Ogden. You'd give him an edge. He was just bigger and more physical.
He technically, Gary Zimmerman is the best tactician I've ever seen. Because you got to think about it, Skip. He's 6'5", 280. Most tackles, even back then, were 300 pounds, and all decade in 2 different decades. I get that with Ray Lewis. So who's the best from John Elway? Because Rod Woodson. Well, when you play with these guys, well, if I say they're different. You know, John Elway brought something different to the table than Ray. Ray brought something different to the table than Woody. But for me, I'm not going to say, well, this guy's 20, Skip, 20 times better.
And then you never say Elijah Wan is the best center in the NBA. You never say that.
No.
But people have said Tim Duncan is the best power forward ever.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference.
He is the best. It's not even close.
Question, yeah.
I mean,
look, I get you if you like to watch Hakeem more because it's the dream shake. I get that. I get
nice
it.
now.
It's fun to watch. This was Tim, no Duncan, right? Like that.
Right.
That's what you got.
Right.
But he's just greatness. It's hard to see how great he is because it's just so routinely, consistently great every night.
Every night.
The bag shot, and Shaq dubbed him big fundamentals.
He did.
But you talk about fundamentals. That footwork that Hakeem,
unbelievable.
He hit David Robinson with a 4 move. He faked him, up, and went up under.
And he was the only big man center that had a crossover.
Yeah.
Hakeem Olajuwon. He can handle the ball pretty well as a center, yeah.
I mean, the guy missed a triple-double where he had a quadruple-double. The NBA rescinded one of his assists. 12 days later, he went and got another one. So he theoretically have 2 quadruple-doubles. He was fundamentally sound.
He was a bad man.
He was a bad man, but would you take him over Jordan in the '84 draft?
Oh, knowing the outcome now? No.
No. Game over.
But I tell you what, but here's the thing. If Kareem, would you take Kareem over Jordan, knowing what you know now? I'm taking Kareem.
Well, they weren't in the same draft.
But I'm just saying, you always going to take the big man.
No, you wouldn't. I wouldn't take you take Kareem over Jordan?
Yes!
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Skip, the man had the most unstoppable. The guy got almost 40,000 points, Skip. He got 6 MVPs. 6 more than anybody in the history of the game.
Greatest competitor I ever saw in any sport, Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
He got 6 finals. He got 6. He went to 10 finals, Skip.
I got it. But he also needed magic to take over the team and be the driving force
Not just
of the
magic.
team.
In year 19, they still doubling him.
Yes.
Who doubles a 40-year-old guy 19 years in the league? What did they do that at, Skip?
Yeah.
That's like you enjoy me trying to double me. Y'all trying to double me. Y'all know.
Skip doesn't need my help
They
at
know
all.
to throw that sky hook on him.
He did have the most untouchable shot ever in NBA history.
Look here, Kobe shoots the fall away. LeBron. Everybody do the one-step kickback like Dirk. Who shoots the sky hook?
Nobody shoots the fadeaway like MJ, though. Come on now.
Kobe stole everything from that man. You know, he walked it.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, you
got
right,
an elbow sleeve and all that stuff. Come on, man. Stole that man. Rip that man off.
You know, and
that's
I
the guy
know.
to be like, though. MJ.
Jordan was the baddest man ever.
He was
ever.
special. You know what? Well, people don't know he's more competitive off the court than he was on the court.
Exactly.
You know that. Everything is about a competition. He's not going to do anything for fun or for free. He's going to make you put money down. He thought he tried to slick me out of my house, but I wasn't going to have it.
I watched Jordan after practices shoot free throws for money, left-handed, eyes closed.
He practiced with us one day, and we really got into it talking trash, and to the point where I didn't know if I had a job the next day. so he really gets after it, especially playing basketball, to this day.
He got under your skin?
Oh, yeah, we got it under each other's skin, and to the point where he was start telling me about his rings and all that type of stuff. I had to back down. I had to back down.
When it comes to basketball, golf, and playing cards, those are three things.
Yes.
And I don't know which one comes in which order, Skip.
Right.
But he loves all three of those.
No mercy. We're going out by the host of the I Am Rappaport Stereo podcast, Michael Rappaport. Welcome back.
Glad to be here. Excited to be here. My first time in Cleveland.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. I'm just here for the sushi.
I heard you had a crazy plane ride here.
Yes, I had. It was an all-star game team. We had Kenya Martin, Paul Pierce, Steven Jackson, Caron Butler, Rex Chapman, and even Mike Breen could have called the game for us.
And why were you on that flight again?
Hey, listen, man, I was the sixth man on that team.
Well, let's get started. An ESPN article revealed that LeBron James and Kevin Durant recorded a secret rap track together during the 2011 lockout season when KD was working out with LeBron in Akron. Despite talks of making the record public, Durant reportedly wanted to keep it a secret. Durant even wrote a verse about Skip, saying, "Every hater all the same. I'm feeling like the world is Skip Bayless, and I'm LeBron James."
Hey.
Michael, what do you make of this?
I mean, some things should be kept secrets, first of all. You know, that song is fine, but I got some hot take, some news that Steph Curry and KD just put out a single this morning, and they name-checked Shannon, and the name of the single is "Watch the Dethronement."
Oh, you really think so?
Oh, yeah. They put out a single this morning. It's called "Watch the Dethronement," and then they coming out with a second track. It's called "We're Taking Your Crown." Ooh.
Look what y'all had to put together. You actually, do you actually think the king is going to let you come to his castle and celebrate?
Oh, yeah, listen. Not only am I coming to celebrate, I'm coming to watch them take the crown, and they're not going to take the crown and put it on. They're going to pluck the jewels out and then pawn them.
Skip.
So, Mr. Rappaport, are you predicting a sweep?
I don't care if it's 4 games or 5 games. I would love it to happen here, right here in the land. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry. I would love to see. This is the first time I've ever been to Cleveland. It's my first finals. And Skip, as much as I came to see you and Joy, I came to see your face. LeBron James, personal publicist, and the hummus king of Beverly Hills. I can't wait to see your face drop when it all goes down.
Hopefully you'll be here on Thursday after LeBron drops a 40, 15, and 15.
It ain't going to matter.
Yes,
He could 50. He could do a triple-double, a fourfold triple. He could do an algebra, scientific experiment. The party is over, Shannon. This guy, he's always talking and nothing. You haven't been this quiet since, I don't know.
About what?
Like, you seem a little nervous, man.
Nervous? No, I'm not nervous. Skip.
Look at him.
Obviously, this album must be pretty bad, because we can't find it anywhere. We know. I mean, can you imagine if Biggie and Tupac did an album, dropped the track together? That thing had been out. Now, Prince is alleging that Prince has like 50, 60 songs. Everybody's clamoring for it. So we know this track right here, we already know it's some garbage, probably, more than likely.
Although, reportedly, people who have heard it thought it was decent.
But you know,
I heard it's a new genre. They call it avoidment rap. Like no one wants to hear it. Like everybody's just trying to avoid hearing it.
The thing is, Skip, though, we need to stop this, is that and people are, why are KD and LeBron doing a rap album? The old school guys wouldn't do something like this.
Yeah.
That's a lie. Because you know what? There was a sneaker commercial, and I know you remember it.
Yes.
Magic Johnson
French
and Larry Bird did a shoe commercial together. And the greatest, the toughest, the most mentally toughest focused guy in the NBA and sports history, Michael Jordan and Larry Bird did a McDonald's commercial together. You know, it's a wonderful thing. You know, there's this Sergey Brin and Larry Page. They created this thing in 1998. It was a search engine. It's called Google. And so if you don't believe players back in the 80s and 90s were friends, just Google it. Yeah. So this is not new what LeBron and KD is doing.
But Magic and Larry, they talk about it publicly over and over and over. That's the first time they had already battled. That's the first time they ever sat down and spoke. These guys working out with their shirts off together. And
why you got me?
I'm just saying, why you like work out, do your thing, but why's your shirt off, my man? What is you doing?
You don't want to work
like
out?
When you're at Flywheel taking 9, 10 spin classes in one day, you're clothed, right? I hope so.
I mean, if you were there, I'd take my shirt off.
Come on, man. You don't want to do that, man. You don't want to do that shit. Skip. Now, I heard he works out. He plays ball. He shoots around by himself.
Skip don't play no basketball.
Yeah, yes, he does. Yes, he does. In compression shorts, and that's it. He's just out there showing it off. He just doesn't release the footage because he's humble.
I wish Skip I would catch Skip playing some basketball from Christian.
Listen, I got several big points to make here. Number one, to Mr. Sharpe's point about Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. Had they both won several rings by the time they decided to join forces to do whatever it was, McDonald's commercial?
Yes.
Yes, many rings on both sides, correct? So all those, even back to Magic and Larry Bird doing a Converse commercial, which actually made them, it established their early friendship. They had beaten each other in finals, so they had said.
And the NCAA.
And NCAA, but they'd played there. But they'd actually exchanged rings in the finals where one had beaten one and then one beat the other. So they were on equal footing. They were both made men by that point. Now let's go back to what happened. This was in 2011. What had happened so far to either of those two players? Nothing had happened to them because LeBron had not won his first ring. And what had just happened to LeBron in the NBA Finals? He had melted down in a way we'd never seen any superstar melt down, especially on a final stage. So he owed that team something in 2012, and he got to play against a Kevin Durant, who was a basketball baby at that point, an NBA baby at that point. But what was happening off the court between those two? Kevin Durant had become little brother to LeBron's big brother. And Kevin was deferring to LeBron. He was in awe of LeBron. He came up during the lockout to Akron to work out with big brother LeBron. And they name-dropped me, Kevin did, in that track by saying, basically, LeBron, I've got your back, right? I'm protecting you. That's what he's saying because he's deferring to LeBron.
Ridiculous.
Well, that's what it was. And what happened in the 2012 finals when they actually met on the court? Kevin's in awe of LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron psychologically owned Kevin at that point, and it showed right away, even though Oklahoma City won game one, then what started to take place. LeBron finally said, let me post him. Let me start to take advantage physically of little brother. And he really took advantage of little brother. Well, those were different times. Times have changed.
They have
a lot
changed.
of years have passed. And all of a sudden, Kevin has made a 2-game statement, games 1 and 2 in Oakland.
Yes.
Guess what, big brother?
Party's over.
Yeah, I just grew up, and I'm going to grow up all over you guys in this thing.
And you created this monster called the Big Three, and I came back with the Big Four. And it's all you, LeBron. It's all your fault. You came and you made the Big Three and the Miami Heatles and the friends and family and the skinny genification of the NBA. And Kevin Durant said, no more. To quote the great Roberto Duran, no mas.
No mas?
And he shut it down. Watch the dethronement, Shannon Sharpe.
Hold on. So let me get this right. So now athletes can only be friends if you win titles.
It helps. I mean, at least you're on equal footing.
So So with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, they never played golf together until Peyton.
That don't count. They're on different sides of the field.
Hold on.
Did they make a commercial together? I don't remember it.
I mean, have you ever seen any NFL players in a commercial together?
We're talking
So
about
what's your
two
point?
quarterbacks. Yeah, what's your point?
No,
Mean Joe Green wasn't hanging out with Roger Staubach. You know that he wasn't. He was trying to knock his head off.
First of all, they have the mean. They weren't making no money back then.
And by the way, Mean Joe did one of the all-time great Coke commercials,
With
but
a
he
little
did it
kid.
by himself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Hold on. And you talk about LeBron and the Big Three. There was a Big Three that took place, and I think it was 2008. If
Doesn't
I'm not
apply. Want me to break down the science on that?
Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett was with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
After 12 years in the NBA. Do the math, do the math, do the math, do the math, do the math.
Time out.
Get the calculator out. Go ahead.
Kevin Durant.
12th year in the NBA.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Can I
Go
finish?
ahead.
Kevin Garnett came from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Ray Allen, I think, came from the Milwaukee Bucks. They joined a guy in Paul Pierce in Boston. That was the first official, one of the first officials of culmination of guys coming together to do what?
Not in their prime. They were still good, but they were not in their prime. They weren't 24
I think they were in the
years old.
backside of their
They were on the
primes,
backside.
'cause
Yeah,
they
the
were good
backside
enough to win the
still good.
championship.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
If you rob a bank at 75 and you rob a bank at 40, which one are you going to jail? I didn't rob the bank in my prime. I just asked a question. You know. So which
Guys, you did a whole science experiment. We're on live TV in Cleveland, man. You're doing arithmetic.
So, Michael, when did you become such a big Golden State fan?
Well, I've always loved Golden State.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I had. Yes, I had.
No, you didn't.
No, yeah.
You bossed the Celtics.
Time. No, I'm not a boss.
Knicks.
I'm a New York Knicks fan
Okay.
through and through. But I grew up. A friend of mine I met in the parks in New York, World Be Free, Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Run TMC, Chris Mullin. Okay, that's my spirit animal.
It is.
Okay, and
It
then
is.
B Diddy and Steven Jackson. I've always liked that team, and I like this team, and I was fortunate to get hip to Steph Curry while he was still in college, watch his father play. So I like the team. They're my redheaded stepchild team.
You know what it is? It's hate and it's disdain for the king. No. In all my years, and I've watched you and heard you talk, I've never, ever heard you mention anything Golden or State. Now, all of a sudden, you a Dub Nation. Dub Nation, rise up.
Well, what am I supposed to? I got nothing. What am I supposed to ignore basketball because my Knicks haven't played ball in 3 months?
No, what you mean 3 months? 3 decades. Stop. You about 3 months. You and I, we know what you're trying to do here.
It's over.
The
party's over.
No, it's not.
And I came out here to tell you people to your face, it was a nice run. It was a good run. But the party is over, people.
No.
I flew out here on a red eye. I haven't slept all night because I wanted to tell you to your face, people. It was fun.
But guess
you
what?
got to run.
We're going to send you back. We're going to send you back on a red eye disappointed because we're going back to Golden State, too.
Michael Rappaport, could we ask you to come back on Thursday to do this show?
Possibly.
Possibly.
If I could,
Possibly.
you know what? I can maybe do it. If I could switch the flights, Shannon will send the PJ. We'll send him the private jet.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll do that. I want to hold your hand through Game 3.
I'm gonna send the PB and J. That's the only PB. You know what's gonna happen. LeBron getting a triple-double with 40 points.
Get the triple-double. He can do whatever he wants to do. He's gonna conk out at the end of the third quarter, just like he did in Game 2. The party's over. Drink that Gatorade.
Hey, let's bet.
We already made a bet. You want to make another $100 bet?
No, I want.
Sushi dinner, hummus. What do you want? Chicken wings, pizza. All of it's on me.
You know what?
I'm gonna do it compassionately.
Game 3.
What do you want?
They winning.
A hummus dinner?
No.
What's the best sushi in Cleveland?
No,
do they
no.
have sushi
I
out
don't
here?
know.
Hold on. I want that look on your face right there. That's what I'm betting.
Right
that look,
there.
Yeah, that look on your face.
No problem. I'm going to work it out. I'm going to stay. I'm going to come here early in the morning.
And
I like it.
And I'm
I
a
like
best
it,
skip.
Michael, coming
I'm a
out here
best
with
skip.
a full heel
I'm a
move,
best skip. Case
get everybody
Pompeo.
upset.
And I might wear the same shirt when I come
Ain't
here.
no Mike. That's the only shirt you brought.
By the way, just for clarification, this Spider Studios that put out the clip of the track, they want 1 million retweets to get the whole one, and they're at 7,500 right now. So
There's no chance that's getting
we're
out.
waiting for that full. We're waiting for the full song. Michael, thanks for joining
Even
us.
Twitter doesn't want that song out here.
No mercy. Charles Barkley crashed Wayne Gretzky's press conference yesterday before Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Barkley has been openly critical of the NBA playoffs, and he didn't hold back yesterday. Let's take a listen.
The playoffs in hockey have been amazing. Obviously, I'm not breaking earth-shattering news. Our NBA playoffs have not been very good. We showed a stat. We've only had 4 basketball games in the playoffs that were less than double digits. And so it's not been a lot of fun broadcasting games this year. There's nothing more nerve-wracking than Stanley Cup overtime hockey. It's the craziest thing you ever gonna see.
Skip, what's your reaction?
Oh, man. Look, I'm a fan of Charles Barkley's on TNT's Inside the NBA. Great commentary. He's funny. He can be insightful. I give him all that.
Yes.
But I'm a much bigger fan of the National Basketball Association. As you know, I'm a fanatic. I take it very seriously, very passionately. Any criticism I have of what's happening on an NBA court comes from a perspective of love and extreme passion for the game.
Mm-hmm.
I've covered it since the 70s, and I love me my NBA. So I am so offended by Charles Barkley campaigning for the hockey playoffs against the NBA playoffs. I don't get it. I don't know how his bosses at TNT are allowing this, because I watched Inside the NBA almost every night through the NBA playoffs. And I'll be the first to admit they haven't been great, in part because of key injuries at every junction.
Correct.
Right? Especially Kawhi Leonard's injury, my Spurs against Golden State. But Charles would come out of their green room and do the late show, post-game show, and readily admit, y'all, I haven't been watching this game because I was watching the Predators in whatever that round of the hockey was. Mm-hmm. Really? TNT, his network, pays a ton of money for the rights to these games. And I'm assuming they pay Charles a ton of money to talk about these games.
And promote these games.
And then all of a sudden, I have to watch him invading Wayne Gretzky's press conference to campaign for the hockey against the pro basketball playoffs. Really? And then I have to watch on SportsCenter late last night, after the Predators win, to even that series at 2-2. I watch it. I'm a fan. I get it. But I'm a much bigger NBA fan.
Correct.
Charles is also on with Barry Melrose and Steve Levy on ESPN, extolling the virtues of the NHL playoffs. They're so unpredictable, and the atmosphere here was so great. I'll bet the atmosphere tomorrow night over there, I think it's going to be pretty great.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
atmosphere, you know it and I know it. This is greatness. We're seeing, you just made a case. We might be seeing an all-time great Golden State team. We're obviously watching a LeBron James who's an all-time great player. Wherever you rank him, he's still all-time great.
Correct.
And I will tell you that I consider it a privilege to get to watch LeBron play basketball, maybe at the backside of his prime, but he is still in his prime.
Right.
He's still capable of dominating Golden State as he did in the first half. I love this stuff. I don't want to hear Charles doing this anymore. And if he wants to do this, he should get out of his TNT deal and go to NBC and comment on hockey. Because
Yes.
that's fine. I don't mind it. If that's what he wants to do. Seriously.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Skip, I co-sign everything you just said. I think Charles is great. His image speaks volumes to his commentary about the NBA. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Skip, you and I both know I've taken the NFL to task. You and I, when we do what we do, we have to talk about a lot of different sports. But I'm not campaigning against my sport that I played for 14 years, and a lot of what I have is because of that very sport. I'm not going to take that, the NFL is not nearly as good as the NBA, or it's not nearly as good as hockey. Why would I do that? And why would I go do that on a rival network? It's like me showing up at the CES Computer Electronics Show in Vegas. And I'm up there talking, I work for Microsoft, and I say, we ain't even close to Apple. Apple does so much. Oh, the computer game?
It is like that. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
I expect to go back to Redmond, Washington, where Microsoft is headquartered, and have a job. What is he getting? I get it.
I know Charles is big, but is he this big to get away with this? I don't know.
Skip, I get it. I get it. You like hockey. I get all that, Charles. But it doesn't make any sense to me that you're on a rival network promoting another sport that doesn't put a dime in your pocket, and you're not paid for the commentary on that sport. That's what I don't get. If you're that upset at the players, and maybe the players don't give you the respect and the deference that you think you deserve, and granted, the games haven't been that close, and some of them haven't even been interesting at all. But for me to think I'm going to go on a rival network and talk down to the very sport that basically made you who you are. You played the sport, and you make a ton of money commenting on the sport. But I'm going to go on another network and talk down about that very sport? What's the end? What was he hoping to accomplish? Oh, look at Charles. And I get it. Hey, he's great at this because you know why, Skip? What are you and I doing right now? We're talking about Charles Barkley. He has a way of getting into our conversation sometimes on a daily basis, but there's not a time in the last, 5-6 years that there has not been a debate or there has not been a conversation about something Chuck has said or he's done.
Okay, usually I believe that any publicity is good publicity. In this case, I think not for Charles Barkley and for TNT and for the people who run that network. I don't think it's good that we're discussing this.
No, but because the thing is, for me, Skip, I get it. You know, playoffs and the Stanley Cup and, one goal. I get all that.
It's edge of seat.
Yeah,
I get all that too.
Yeah.
But let me say this about LeBron James. I've been critical of LeBron in the past, but I always tell you this. He's the most interesting player who ever played this game because it's always something with LeBron James. Every night, even if they lose by 22 or 19, there's always 2 or 3 great subplots with LeBron. That's all we talk about because it's great to talk about LeBron. I'm fascinated by LeBron's legacy on and off the court.
Right.
I think off the court, LeBron might become greater than he even is on the court.
I believe so too.
I love to talk about all this, and it's way more interesting than any single player who plays hockey right now. I'm sorry, I get it that it's edge of seat. It could be 1 goal, overtime. I get that. But you don't know enough about – you probably know enough about Pittsburgh. But you know about Sydney. But again, the Predators – come on, they came from nowhere.
You're Nashville.
Yeah.
When you think of Nashville, are you thinking hockey?
No, you're thinking Vanderbilt, right?
No.
It's my school.
I'm thinking
that's what you think about. That's all you think about.
I'm thinking of the Grand Ole Opry.
You know?
I'm thinking Minnie Pearl.
You can think of that if you like.
Yeah, that's what everybody's thinking about. Go to Nashville.
No.
You think of country, Skip. You're thinking country music. Let's be realistic. When you think Nashville, you're thinking country music.
Yep.
You're thinking big home with the rocking chairs and the swings on the porch. You're not thinking hockey.
I mean, it seems incongruous, like it doesn't even fit.
Right.
Hockey in Nashville, what?
Right. So I just don't get what Charles was hoping to accomplish, and I get it. You can talk about, man, hey, it's fun watching NHL hockey.
It is.
Because it's the Stanley Cup, and everybody, hey, you never know what's going to happen, the unpredictability. But to lift one sport up while talking down to the very sport that you get paid for and that you played, that's the part that I don't get. But, hey, you know what everybody's going to say? That's Charles being Charles. I just don't get it. But
I wish Charles would be Charles talking about the NBA, period, end of story.
Well, you know what? I'm going to win an Emmy, and I'm going to talk about Skip.
All right.
I'll
take that.
I'm going to talk
Then you're going to have to come in here and face him every day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about Joy, too. I'm going to talk about how Joy was asleep on the plane yesterday, and somebody woke her up.
He woke me up out of a dead sleep. I was drooling.
Wait, I also saw him make you change seats with him so we could have more leg room.
I was being nice.
I asked nicely. And because Melissa Etheridge wanted to talk to me, she said I was one of her favorite players, although I put pain on the Chiefs.
This is the first Melissa Etheridge reference on this show and probably the last, right?
She's coming to L.A. She going to do a song for me. She going to shout me out like she did you 20 years ago.
She shouted me out.
No mercy. This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on Channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm Joy Taylor. Tune in on Wednesday. Fox Sports, one of one.